Good. So here we are with the end of chapter 14. Chapter 14, part 3 of 3. So counter trade, you would be surprised how much this actually happens and or works, especially in places like Japan, where they have really become masters of this idea. It's a range of like barter-like agreements. We'll go through their 5 different types of agreements that facilitate the trade of goods and services, and they cannot be traded for money. And as we discussed already in this course, there are many reasons why a country, especially developing countries, might not want to let go of their cash. So Philip Morris, for example, shipped cigarettes to Russia, right? Which again, Russia is one of those countries that very often it doesn't want their foreign exchange reserves to be convertible. And then so it received chemicals to make fertilizer. Then Philip Morris shipped the chemicals to China, and in return, China shipped glassware to North America for retail sale by Philip Morris, right? So what is Philip Morris doing in the glass business? But in this instance, it makes sense because very often you get discounts along the way, and they can and make money with their network. So exporters use counter trade when conventional means of payment are difficultly or just non-existent, as we mentioned. So is counter trade popular? In the 1960s, as we mentioned already in this course, the Soviet Union, many of their currencies were generally non-convertible. So they turned to counter trade to purchase imports. My mother very much said that she would often get gifts and boxes living in the Czech Republic underneath the communists from America, from her aunt living in Pittsburgh, and with stockings, toys, things that then my grandmother could sell on the black market. Actually, they wouldn't necessarily get cash because there was no place to change that cash, but they would get these items that they could then barter or sell. So there was a short spike in the volume of counter trade, also following financial crises, because again, in a crisis, again, a lot of countries don't want to let go of their foreign exchange cash. So there was notable increase in the volume of counter trade after the Asian financial crisis of 97. And maybe another reason why Japan does so well, because they had to rely on it for a long time. And they're very good at doing things in an exact way. So let's talk about the different types of counter trade. Barter, which is maybe the one that you're most familiar with from elementary school, right? When you first learn about economics, we learn about bartering and a direct exchange between two parties without cash. But this is the most restrictive counter trade. Maybe it doesn't happen as often because you really have to match the organizations and you have to match the products. It's primarily used for one-time only deals, for partners who are not trustworthy. A counter purchase, this is a little bit more popular. This is where a firm agrees to purchase a certain amount of materials back from a country to which a sale is made. So now this happens with the US and China, that the US will sell products to China, China will buy them, and then China will receive a portion, knowing that there'll be an exchange and there'll be a portion of the cash back. Also, we have what's called an offset. This is similar to a counter purchase where one party agrees to purchase goods and services with a specified percentage of. Okay. Rodney's here going to join us for the last 3 types of counter trade. The one is called offset. It's similar to the counter purchase, but agrees to purchases and goods from a specific.
Let's do this one.
Okay, got it. We want to do this one? Okay, got it. Well, this is where they can buy things from any firm within the country. So that's a little bit more flexible because it allows you to buy things not just from Nike, but from Adidas, for example. There's also called switching trading, a specialized third-party trading house that buys the firm's counter purchase credits and sells them to another firm. Also can be very valuable. Again, that third party will take a cut. There's some discounts in there. But as we've seen with some examples in the book, it happens that companies have overflow of product, excess product, etc., that they need to get rid of, and this might be the only way for them to do it.
Is it yucky?
That one's a little yucky. Yeah. Choose another one. Good. Then we have compensation or buybacks. This is where a firm builds a plant in a country and then agrees to take a percentage of the plant's outputs as a partial payment for the contract. This happens with ammonia in Russia. There's a company called Occidental Petroleum. They built an ammonia plant, and that in a partial payment for their building of this plant, they took 20 years worth of supply of ammonia. So, right, benefiting from counter trade. Here's an example of a subsea oil and gas tree. Is lowered into a testing pool in the UK. So large, diverse global companies like GE here can benefit from counter trade.
Like a swimming pool that has a roadblock.
It kind of does look like a swimming pool, doesn't it? Yeah.
But with a roadblock.
With a roadblock, right? It looks like a big piece of construction stuff, right? Yeah. So big companies do this, not small companies, is what is recommended. It allows firms to finance an export deal when other means are not available. As we've spoken about, that some firms might be unwilling to engage in counter trade because they may lose an export opportunity to a competitor that will do it, right? So it's another bargaining tool, I guess you could say, when we talk about import-export deals. It may be required by government to which a firm is exporting goods and services. As I mentioned earlier in this course, that Japan did this for a long time after World War II because they did not want to get rid of their reserves. So another last slide here, that counter trades can be very unattractive at times, right? Because it's just simpler, right, to be paid in money. Right? Most of us would not work necessarily for goods. We want to be paid in money so that we can go out and choose what we want to buy with our money. It may involve exchange of unusable or poor quality goods that the firm cannot dispose of profitably. As I said, this is potentially a way for them to get rid of products that they overproduced. But as we saw in the book, also there have been examples of TVs that were made in Eastern Europe that are not of good quality at the end of the day. So it's attractive to a large, diverse, multinational enterprises.
Like a hot tub that's about to erupt.
It looked like a hot tub that was about to erupt. That's true. Very true. And so they can use their network, which is of value, to dispose of goods. Japan, as I mentioned, are masters at counter trade.
Like everybody uses hair.
Use their hair, right, something like this. 3M has a division called 3M Global Trading because they have such a dynamic network of contacts that they've now decided to get into the counter trade business and be able to make money at it. So that ends chapter 14. Thank you so much for joining Rodney and I. I will see you all in chapter 15.